trees, superior craftsmanship. Like everything just has to be, at a perfect level. All level 5 finishes on the sheetrock. You just got to have a real good design. Um, when I do it, I love doing just like grand entrances, like big foyers, right? I think that plays a big part in a home feeling luxurious because when you're coming in from a long day and like Wendy said, you don't want to just walk into a kitchen and a living room. You want to have that relaxed sensation, that overwhelming moment when you walk inside and everything just feels perfect, right? Your master bedroom, you have to have like a luxury primary suite, freestanding tubs, frameless glass showers, like maybe something towards a heated floor. Make sure your home have like smart technology, anything down from like your smart lighting to everything working on Wi-Fi, your appliances, automated blinds, things of this nature, pretty much signifies luxury homes to me. You really got to be able to bite that price point too, because a lot of people have $1 million dreams with $100 budgets. So to be able to have the financial capacity to build something beautiful to where like money isn't an option or an issue, I believe you could really come up with a wonderful design, something that definitely feel like luxury for sure.
All right, thank you for that. Anyone have any questions so far that they'd like to ask the panelists?
I have a question, and anyone can answer this. What is the converse? How does the conversation start when you're speaking with someone and they want this type of luxury, dealing with financing?
Well, unfortunately,
So do you mean like
I
starting?
haven't had anyone yet with financing. It's been cash thus far. But I am more curious for more like the self-employed individuals who are using bank statement loans to qualify. And that was actually a question I had for you in regards to bank statement loans, especially for the entrepreneurs that we see in our market. How are we using that loan product to help them buy luxury property in regards to, the traditional, conventional or jumbo loans and things of that nature?
Um, well, with the bank statement loans is something that is available. But if someone would come to me and they're self-employed, the first thing I would look for is their tax returns. If they does not have any tax returns and we're going to their 24 to 12 months of bank statements, to verify the income, now going to raise up another question of, let me see your assets. Let me see what you have put to the side, not only because you could tell me you receive this type of money. Now I need to know, how do you save? Because that going to plays a big part in with the bank statement loan, what you have saved. Because once again, even if we're under the threshold and we could go conforming with conventional, now we still have to follow Fannie and Freddie Mae guidelines. So now we're looking at, okay, we could do a bank statement loan. So now we have to follow different guidelines because we're still going Fannie and Freddie, but let's see how much he have in his savings. Because doing a bank statement loan, just say for a $700,000 house, and all of you telling me you have 7,500, it's not gonna work.
Right. Right.
That's why I asked, how does the conversation goes with you all before it gets to someone like me. And another reason why I'm asking this too, because a lot of people may say, well, we could get there, so we'll do a pre-approval now and just hopefully you save the money. So now we have Glenn who's building a house, but he done built a house that may not be purchased, because if they don't save that type of money, then now we have an issue.
I mean, I'm not trying to sound rude, but that don't sound like a luxury buy to me.
But
If they
so
gotta do
yeah,
all,
so
if they gotta
so
do
yeah,
all
so
that, that nothing about that is luxury to me. That's
Well, yeah, so that's why I wanted to know the conversation, how the conversation if they're dealing with financing, if y'all had experienced anything or off top, they're able to get finance, they have the credit that they need and everything like that. So that's why I was asking, how is the
Yeah.
conversation on you all end?
Well, I would say normally with me, like if I'm working with a luxury buyer, 99.9% of the times they come to me, they already have that situation sorted out. Whether it's a bank that they've been doing
Exactly.
business with, that their business is with, um, they'll come to me by the time they call me and they say, "Hey, I'm in a market for a home. My wife and I, whether they're moving in town or we want to move to a different part of the city." They may let me know who they've been speaking with because they will say, like, "I know this is what you do every day. My current banker is telling me they could get us a loan. This will be the type of loan. This is how much I would have to put down." And they're usually just like, "Is that correct? Or do you know of anyone that has a better deal on a loan this size?"
Mhm.
Sometimes even these people are still, they could have the money to put down, but they're like, "Does that sound correct?" If you tell them, "Yeah, I could connect you, with a lender who does have a jumbo loan product, just so you can explore your options," they may do that, but they're usually not the ones to really nickel and dime. So even if I connect them with another lender and he's like, "Oh, I could, save them so much money if they do this or that," they're only going to make the move to that next lender if it's a significant savings. They're not necessarily worried about, "Oh, this person said it's going to be $1,500 less at the closing table." They
Yeah.
don't care about that.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
they're more relationship, who they've been doing business with, who they've been banking with, where their stocks are, where their savings are, and things of that. They want to keep that going. So normally when they come, they're ready to go.
right,
Yeah.
right, exactly.
And I want to definitely validate that because I agree. Having worked with high net worth individuals, they are already vetted, they're already educated and savvy. They know pretty much what they want and what they want to spend, in the price point. So they have already reached out to their lender, to their financial advisor and decide that everything about I think a high net worth individual is planned,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
They're not just the average. Um, oh, I think now I'm good and I'm ready to be approved. It's more regimented, organized, and they come with their own team, depending upon who that individual is. Whether, especially if you're dealing with celebrity athlete entertainer, they have trusted advisors that they have already vetted, they've gone through. Those are the individuals that they trust with their documents, so they're going to just ask you to help them to find that price point, on that particular property that meets their needs and preferences. But I think the biggest, for realtors is to start networking with those lenders and those financial advisors, because you want to be able to become that go-to agent that they often seek out as a referral.
I
Now, I do
definitely.
want to, oh, go ahead,
Oh, go
Wendy.
ahead.
I'm sorry. Oh, no,
No,
I was going to say, if you have now, this is just what everyone is saying is very true. Most people are prepared and ready to go. That's why I was asking about the bank statement loans earlier, because we are seeing newer entrepreneurs coming up and
mhm.
they want to dip their toe into luxury. So they would need to have that conversation like, hey, they may not have all the resources yet. So that's where a person like you will come in and say, well, hey, these are the type of products we have, but explain to them what is the benefit of these products.
Yeah.
Like, don't say I can get you approved. It's like, well, no, this will help you in the long run because they thinking long term with their money.
Yeah.
So you'll have to find loan products that will make sense financially for the long term. So,
Mhm.
that would be some of the conversations where it would be in depth, and they still may have somebody still vet you. So you have to realize a lot of vetting goes into that world. Like they vet you, they check your background, they check everything. And if they want to introduce somebody new into their world, they will, but it's very discretionary. I would say if that's even a
Mhm.
word, like it's a lot of discretion that goes on into that market. So I would just say if it's someone that's very new to having wealth, then that's where a conversation is like, okay, if anything, I would ask, have you spoken to a financial advisor? Do you have a financial advisor? I would
Mhm.
actually start there first before I say, hey, do you need to speak to a lender, to be honest?
Yeah, I just like I said, I just wanted to because I've been in contact with football players because I know a football player and I know one that used to play and different stuff. And just, we're having, as you could say, casually family conversation, but I'm not getting the idea and the information how realtors and them have conversations. So that is good to know. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Green, you're you're a home inspector, engineer, contractor, right? Luxury homes. Have you seen any issues in the quality of the design and the build of a luxury home uh, more so than other homes? Because most times the average homeowner is what? They're just living, right? Uh, what issues have you come across with a luxury home that you really don't see with the with a regular everyday average home?
Typically with luxury homes, and of course, I see it from multiple fronts, right? And actually, I want to chime in on the question you asked with regard to how, certain things that make up a luxury home. I think it starts from design, actually, with a lot of well planned or well thought out luxury homes. So, from the inspection side, what I see with a lot of homes that are on the luxury level or status is that you may have some real. I think the focus is more so on the aesthetics, whereas the bones of the development are not done properly, such as the structure, the roof framing, or maybe even there's a like I have a friend now who has a $2.5 million home, and I forget what the neighborhood is in Kenner, and the roof leaks. Very beautiful home. All right, the
Is
finishes
it
are
Gabriel?
immaculate. Huh? No, not
Gabriel?
Gabriel. It's where the Saints players live. I forget the name. That I think they got like 14 homes on the street. And Will
Oakland.
Smith,
Oh,
Oakland. That's it. Yeah, Oakland Estates. That's it. Oakland Estates.
mhm.
So he has a house, probably the last house built there, $2.5 million home. The roof leaks, and not only does the roof leak, you really can't even fix the roof leak. So because of how it was designed, it looks beautiful. Some of the design effects, are actually constructible. So there's a translation from design to actual construction. You can put anything on paper, but being able to build it is key. And I think that's one of the things that gets lost in a lot of luxury homes. I mean, if you look at some of the St. Charles mansions, very beautiful, but the upkeep and the maintenance and the environmental impacts that happen to those homes, such as the deterioration, the moisture intrusion, those are the things that I see. And what I like to do is come in on the front end with the actual design of the luxury homes and look at those experiences or those learned issues and impact or try to impact the design to make sure that we don't have those type of issues.
Now,
Okay.
correct me if I'm wrong, but something came to mind when you mentioned Oakland, and I don't know if we're speaking of the same home, but there was a
We
home,
are.
and I've been in a home, was friends with the former owner, but the home when the home was originally built was built with a slate roof, and then the home was purchased. It was made to, I guess, be modernized a little bit. They did some things where you would wonder, like, why would you cover up, marble floors with hardwood floors? Like they did some changes to it. But one of the biggest things that I noticed was they replaced the roof. And instead of going back with a slate roof like the home once had, they went back with a shingle roof, which obviously, if you know anything about roofs, shingles, of course, is going to be a lot less expensive of an option, no matter the size or square footage of the roof, just because shingle is a lot less expensive than slate. So, but I would wonder if it was me purchasing a home and I know this home once had a slate roof, were there any proper precautionary measures that needed to take place converting over from slate to shingle? And did that happen when the roof
Well,
was
well,
replaced?
well, two parts. Well, this was a new construction. This was the last house built in Oakland. So
Okay.
this wasn't that one. This was actually a new construction. But to answer your question, when you do convert or you do modernize a home, there are some construction upgrades that need to definitely happen because modernized construction. Now, one thing about slate, you can use skip sheeting with slate. Whereas with an
Mm-hmm.
asphalt roof, I've seen people put asphalt roofs on skip sheathing, which is a big no-no. But of course, constructability, cost, all of those things matter. But with regard to what you're saying, if they were going to change from a slate roof, which typically has skip sheathing due to the load on the structure, to reduce the load on the structure, then they should have used, some maybe a wind brace OSB decking for asphalt, and
Mm-hmm.
not keep the skip sheathing, which is probably what they did.
Do you think, from an inspector standpoint, and if we have a client that we're working with a luxury home, and of course, when we search homes, we can see the listing history. We can go in the previous listing photos and see what's changed between buyers. Do you think it would help the inspector out for us to inform you to be able to say, hey, we know once upon a time this house, had these things changed in it? Like, does that help at all to know what
Yeah,
renovations were done?
definitely the history of the home helps the inspector. But however, what I would emphasize is, especially in the luxury home market, you definitely want an inspector who's not just an average inspector. You want an inspector who has a history or some experience with regard to that, because when you cross over into that realm of inspection, is bigger than just showing up to a house. You have to do your research before, during, and after. So,
Mm-hmm.
for instance, when I'm evaluating a certain type of structure, not just a luxury home, I mean other structures, commercial buildings, St. Charles Mansions or St. Charles Hotel or Convention Center, you go past just showing up and doing your job. You have to do some upfront research to understand how to evaluate this property in a timely manner, and then also how to build your system and how you're going to evaluate this property before you even get there. So the inspectors who are knowledgeable about luxury homes or homes of a grander scale, we're gonna do our research on the front end. We're gonna then this is why it takes us a longer time, and the price point is not even comparable to a standard home, is because when we evaluate these properties, it's a whole different process. But definitely knowing as much information as possible helps. But typically we're gonna do the digging ourselves as well.
Okay.
I had a question for James. So I would like to know during your inspections and of course at the very end when you are sharing your findings, how are you feeling that in that price point how buyers are responding to you? Are they more upset at the fact like, oh my gosh, I found this stuff? Have you seen more of that? Or is it more of like, oh, okay, we'll just get it fixed, or we'll just ask the seller? Are they very calm about it, or they're very upset about it? I always like to know the temperament of buyers, like, since you've done this from your end.
So with me, there's different type of inspectors as well. You got the cut and dry inspectors, and then you have the inspectors who are considerate of certain dynamics. Me personally, I take everything into consideration. So when I do my post inspection evaluation, I talk to the client from a perspective of um, reality, right? And what I mean by reality, I don't just come in and just say, "Oh, these are the things I found," and that's it. I try to give some perspective on intensity or level of or degree of deficiency, right? So I'll tell them, this is a routine maintenance type of deficiency. It's something that we typically expect to see with this type of structure. Or if it's something that's catastrophic, I'll tell them, hey, look, this is something that's catastrophic. And with the benefit for me is, by me being a designer, a builder, an engineer, and an inspector, I can generally look at something and typically understand the cost of it. I mean,
Mm,
almost immediately. So that's the value that I provide in a scenario, and why people hire me, not just as an inspector, but as a consultant, because, I can generally have the conversation with you about something and give you some perspective of cost and be conservative. So to answer your question, when I'm talking to a client or when I'm debriefing with the client, I tend to have a more calmer situation. It's not um, an end all be all type of situation. There's always, hey, this is what I'm seeing. This is what the probable cost, or this is what the extent of that situation is. And this is how you mitigate it, or this is how you evaluate it with regard to going back to the table and negotiate. Or if a house is about to fall down, I say, hey, look, man, house is about to fall down. Let's run. I'm always going to keep it real. But at the same time, I'm usually able to temper the reactions of the clients based on my experience.
okay, I appreciate that.
Anyone else? Any questions they'd like to ask us for? Okay, to my realtors, how do you price a unique property that is luxury, right? Because we have other realtors on the call, but for anyone wanting to purchase or potentially list, how do you go about pricing a luxury property to give it that value?
So I'm more of the numbers person of that when it comes to luxury or any price point. You really have to pay attention to the market and see how you're going to position it. It's like any other property that you have comped before. It's just that it's $1 million and up. You have to see what's sold in the area. You have to see what it's comparing to, and just price accordingly. To me, from everyone that I've shared with other realtors, especially those that have sold in that area, they in that price point, they all kind of say the same thing. Look at your numbers, look at your market. If you're in a market where houses are selling off the shelf, then you know that, hey, you might can get a little aggressive with the pricing because the demand is high and the supply is low. Whereas certain other parts of the market in New Orleans. And as you know, we're gumbo here. So you have certain areas where inventory is very low, and then you have places where inventory is considered high. So if there's 12 months worth of supply on the market right now in that luxury price point, you know where, hey, I need to price this somewhat either on the aggressive low side so where I could get some views, or I need to be right in that sweet spot where people want to buy. The market is always going to tell you what somebody's willing to pay for it. And that's at any price point. The market is going to tell you. It won't lie to you, I promise. That's my take. I would love to hear other agents' take on that as well.
Wendy?
I'm sorry, I cut off my camera because I'm driving. But I definitely want to say yes, demand is definitely has something to do with it. And in something that's a little more heavily saturated or a little more increase of inventory, you would have to be aggressive. But if you're in an area where you don't have 12 months of inventory, it will actually allow you to go a little farther out, which sometimes can benefit the seller because now you can actually try to get what you want from your home because that demand is a little higher. So in those cases or those situations, appraisers and banks, you will see the comps farther than a mile out, right? Like if we have a neighborhood and it's 20 homes for sale within that mile, it's going to be harder for them to go out and seek a comp beyond that because they don't have to. But in the luxury market, if you need to go a little further out, even if it's a change of zip codes or cities, perhaps, because you're in search of that comparable home that also had a home theater or the comparable home that, had the additional detached dwelling or pool home, you can do that. But it definitely, demand and inventory plays a major part in how far you'll be able to go out to get that comp to be able to get the most for the money.
Anyone have any questions? Concerns? Any other realtors would like to add to how they're pricing luxury? Oh, okay.
They pretty
Matthew.
much covered everything.
Oh, you want to say something, Giovanna?
I said they pretty much covered everything with their answer, Ariel and Wendy.
Okay.
Um yeah, with being aggressive, and then you have to know when to be aggressive and when not to be aggressive in today's
Exactly.
market because it fluctuates.
Yes.
And I'm even seeing that even with appraisals. In certain areas we losing appraisals because nothing has sold in
In
that
months.
area forever.
Mhm.
You can't be afraid to tell people, I love the fact that you love this house, but your love for this house is not what's going to sell it.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. It
And
that's the
also telling
unfortunate.
the seller that this is really not a luxury listing. Sometimes you have to be brutally honest. They think when they put, different what is that, Amazon fixtures, that it becomes luxury, and
Right.
and different things like that. And also I had a friend, a close friend of mine, bought something in the 70115 neighborhood, and in that area they were selling homes for $1.2 million, but that particular block Like the next block was worth $1.2 million, but her block was not. And
Mm.
so it was hell getting that property off the market because she, in her mind, I told her, I said, realistically, I'm like, this is not the block. And she was like,
Hmm.
well, the area. I said, this is not the block.
Right.
you
Yes,
know, New
once you
Yeah.
Orleans is
cross
from block
over,
to block. so,
Mm-mm. What
so
one block can do in New Orleans, right?
yes, so what happened was she lost a lot of money because, in that deal because she didn't she really didn't do her research with the property and stuff like that. And then she come to reality and she finally sold it like 4 months ago. But she had it on the market for years and was eating up the cost. And I'm like, see, if you'd have sold this thing a
Mm.
long time ago, you know, it would have been better. So, you just have to be careful. And, the agent, the first agent and the second agent should have been, upfront with her from the beginning. And, but I don't
So do
think
you
that
think
she was given.
often, not to cut you off, but does anyone, other realtors ever think that, realtors wanting to be advisors on are not often as educated uh, as they should be, when they're pricing properties or when they're guiding and consulting clients? Do you think sometimes it's the client, or do you think it's the realtor who's maybe giving advice?
I think most of the time it's the client, because the client, when they hire you, they think they know more than you and you're the licensed person. But because I had a client that told me to list the property at a certain price point, and I'm like, hey, it's not gonna move. And then eventually when it went down to the price point that I suggested, that it went immediately, and it could have, avoided the wait and the constant money pour. And but pay, because they still have to pay the mortgage until the house
Mm.
sells. So a lot of time it's the client. And then you have these instances where they're so aggressive about the price point, and you do it at the price point, and then you ask them to reduce it down to the price that you originally gave them, and they refuse. And then they hire this other agent, and the other agent give them the price point that you suggested. And guess what? Yeah, because the other agent sold my home. Yes, because they used my price point.
Mm.
Yeah,
So
that has definitely, I think that happened to everybody on this call where
yeah.
we have
Right.
advised somebody and literally they went with another agent and it was like, that's the same number I gave you, but all of a sudden they're doing the best. But I
Yeah.
would tell you this, and I am guilty of it. So if this is a safe space, I have been in a situation where I knew the comps and the seller was just very adamant about their price. And I was very honest about it. I was like, listen, here's what we're going to do. We're going to test your theory out. And sometimes, and I get it from a realtor standpoint, like, hey, that's how marketing dollars being wasted. But I know this house is sellable, but it's more of you definitely have to have them feel it. I've noticed, especially in this market right now, you have to let them feel it. Like you have to let them know we're going to try what you want, but after this, we're going to follow what I'm doing because as you can see, your way is not working. And I was on a call earlier this morning, and there was this agent in his market. I don't know if you guys listened to Pivot Shift Ahead, but it was on that call, and he was studying his market. He said those homes that are priced well, they sell within 10 days in his market. For those that are not priced well, they're priced overpriced, and they have to do reduction after reduction. It takes 100 days to sell. So I would say everyone on this call, including myself, that's something definitely going into the listing presentation to say, hey, listen, I know you may feel about your house, but we really need to price it in a way that's going to get eyes and people in this door because here are the data that shows that homes that are priced well, they can sell within 30 days. Those that want to be very aggressive and be high, you're going to sit. And we have to remind sellers that just like you're running comps, buyers are doing it too. And matter of fact, because they have AI now, they
Yep.
definitely are running comps. They're definitely doing it.
Yes.
I have a
Thank you.
question, because I know somebody could possibly help me with this. I do have a new construction, right? And it is beautiful. It's a beautiful home. It's they have an entertainment area, et cetera, et cetera. I've had people walk in the house and they'd be like, "Oh, it's beautiful, it's wonderful," but they always ask me about this complex across the street. And that's the only thing that's killing the sale. So how could I be creative?
Is there
And
any
what kind of
talks about?
complex is
But
it?
Oh yeah, but I say yeah. What type of complex?
Well, it's a mixture of like elderly people and stuff like that. And so there's a couple that owns it and they run like multiple things there. And that's the only thing. But I sold two. I sold two on the same block, but it's like when it's on it in that curve, it's like it's getting difficult.
okay. Wait, Giovanna, can we hold that question till the end?
Okay.
Because if any of our panelists have to leave, you can stay on with the other realtors and we talk about that. Mr. Williams, insurance.
Yes,
Insurance
ma'am.
on luxury properties, right?
Mm-hmm.
What types of uh, riders or what policies are you seeing that drive up the cost of insurance for luxury properties? What concerns are from the insurance side come into play?
Well, yes, ma'am. So yeah, I'm sorry, I'm multitasking here. That's why my video is off as well. But as for, of course, I guess the very first question I always ask is the location of the property. That always plays a huge part. And then the second question, of course, I always ask is just like Ms. Wendy was bringing up is the year of the roof. The year of the roof plays a huge part, including it being slate versus shingle. That also plays another huge part depending on his life expectancy. Um, but as for prices go, um, it all depends, of course, the size of the home, the quality of the home. Um, I could see where prices, depending on its location, go from maybe about 6 grand, 5 to 6 grand, go all the way up to 15 grand, maybe even 20 grand, depending on the square footage. I've seen one property in Lakeview over 7,000 square feet, and that home was going for about 10 grand. Um, and then a home in Destrehan that was right around the same amount as square footage goes, and it was going up to almost about 13. I'm sorry, about a little over 20 grand for her. So those are the huge parts to play, especially nowadays. The market is very volatile to where every home is a case by case. You know, as everything everybody brought up regarding the specs, things like that. But of course, the biggest thing is, of course, just making sure you have a multiple amount of companies you're able to go through and options to have. Because if not, and they only have a very handful, you might have a very difficult or challenging time trying to sell the home because insurance plays a huge role right now to closings or even people even keeping their homes due to not only the homeowners prices but the flood insurance as well. Flood insurance is quite high in certain areas, and of course, if it's in a flood zone, then that's also required in a mortgage loan. That plays a whole nother variable in the equation.
Thank you. Mr. Matthew, you're given $100,000 as a renovation budget, right?
Yes, ma'am.
How and where would you spend that to create what someone would say perceived luxury?
Definitely would be, of course, we all know kitchen and bath. That's just kind of like the top places where you would place money because a bedroom is a bedroom. Um, Anything else is really much pretty much anything else, but of course your kitchen and your bathroom. So in that aspect, you would want to have, top of your line appliances, the best stones, the best backsplash, the best appliances. Um, just simple. That's pretty much simply it. That's where you would place it. Now, if you want to get more creative, I just had a client who I'm working with, and one thing she said just to make her life easier was off of the kitchen, we're installing like a dog bath station because that's a luxury to her. So um, I guess I could kind of say that too. It just depends on what's a luxury to that person because to her, her dog really matters. So she doesn't want the dog to be dirty in the house. She doesn't want to have to lift the dog to put the dog in the tub. So now she wants specific station to bathe the dog close to the mudroom. So
Okay.
this depends on what's the luxury to that person.
Now, another quick question.
Mhm.
What design colors are you seeing that are trending right now?
Everybody wants
Design aesthetics.
all of a sudden when I was talking about it, but now everything's burgundy. Everybody wants burgundy. Everybody wants to do the burgundy and blue. So that's going to be the next thing that we're going to see. Chocolate, but burgundy right now is just the color that everybody's doing.
Okay, so 2027, no more grays, moving into burgundies and maybe some
Well,
chocolates.
that's trending right now. Burgundy is just trending for now. But of course, white is.
Okay.
I tell people, white is timeless. Always, if you can, try to do white. It's timeless. It's classic. It's going to always be around. And it's not, depending on which hue you get, it's not going to be cold. As long as it's not too yellow, or it's too warm, or it's just too stark white like it's a hospital. A good white is always just a good timeless color.
Okay. And what type of lighting are you seeing more?
So you want to make sure you don't want bright light. Typically inside like 2700 kelvins, you don't want super bright daylight bulbs. That's just not aesthetically pleasing. And you want to have levels of lighting. So you want to have different levels. So you want your ceiling lights, your recess, you want to have your lamps, you want to have some ambient lighting. If you've noticed now, people are including like tray, they're including the lighting inside the tray ceiling and things like that. So you want to have levels of lighting because that really elevates the aesthetic in your home.
All right. Thank you. So back to my contractors here. If someone would like to transform a home into a luxury property and they want to renovate, what do you think is going to be the highest level of return to elevate a home from a traditional home to a luxury home? Glenn or James?